Are you coming to the tree where they strung up a man? They say murder three. Strange things that happen here. How stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree?
Somewhere into the ether. It has taken us this long to get back together. Welcome back on the show, Ken.
Good evening, Chris. Thank you for having me on once again. It's always an honor and pleasure to be here.
Ken Gerhard is a widely recognized cryptozoologist and field investigator for the Center for Fortean Zoology, as well as a fellow at the Pangea Institute and consultant for several research organizations. He has traveled the world searching for evidence of mysterious animals and legendary beasts, including Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, the Chupacabra, and enigmatic winged creatures and werewolves. In addition to co-hosting the History Channel TV series Missing in Alaska, Ken has appeared in 3 episodes of the television series Monster Quest and is featured in the History Channel special The Real Wolfman, as well as other series including Ancient Aliens, True Monsters, Unexplained Files, Legendary Hunters, A Paranatural, Weird or What with William Shatner, Monsters and Mysteries in America, True Supernatural, Ultimate Encounters, Monster Project, and Shipping Wars, which I still haven't managed to catch an episode of. His credits include appearances on numerous news broadcasts and radio programs such as Coast to Coast AM, as well as being featured in articles by the Associated Press, Houston Chronicle, and the Tampa Tribune. Ken is an author and has contributed to trade publications including Fate magazine. He currently lectures and exhibits at various conferences and events across the United States. Born on Friday the 13th of October 1967, which was exactly 1 week before the famous Patterson Bigfoot footage was shot, Ken has traveled to 26 different countries on 6 different continents and has visited virtually all of the United States. An avid adventurer, he has camped along the Amazon, explored the Galapagos Islands, hiked the Australian outback, and has visited many ancient and mysterious sites from Machu Picchu to Stonehenge. Encounters with Flying Humanoids, Big Bird, a book about giant birds seen all across North Americas, Monsters of Texas, co-written with Nick Redfern, and his latest book, A Menagerie of Mysterious Beasts. Did I miss anything?
Chris, I'm absolutely worn out after that bio. Thank you so much, but I think I'm going to have to shorten that at some point because now I'm tired.
Well, I got most of it off of your website, so.
I know, and as you know, always good to be as thorough as possible, just so the information is there. But no, thank you so much. That was very gracious. I feel very blessed. You have done a lot of cool stuff.
Mm-hmm. When did you first get interested in cryptozoology?
Well, it's been a lifelong passion. I was very young, maybe 7 or 8 years old, when I saw a show about Bigfoot, and I heard about the big hairy fella. I was absolutely enthralled. And of course, back in those days, they're long before internet, and there wasn't a lot of TV going on, so we did lots of library trips. And growing up, I grew up in Minnesota. Moved to Texas at some point, but my family traveled quite a bit, and so I had an opportunity to travel to the Amazon jungle in South America and Australia, the Orient, and North Africa, and all these places. And wherever I went, I was always interested in legendary creatures, because every culture around the world has stories and legends of fabulous creatures. They're always very fascinating, and I personally think that behind every legend there's usually at least some grain of truth, so that's the fun part for me. But Loch Ness, of course, the home of the Loch Ness Monster, Nessie. My family vacationed there when I was 15, and that's when I first started trying to do field research at a young age. So it's just been a lifelong passion. I've never seen a cryptid with my own eyes. People always ask me that after all many years of hunting. I've interviewed many people who claim to have, but I haven't. But I may have heard one on one occasion, maybe a couple of occasions. So it's been quite a trip.
Was this something your folks were okay with, or did they just kind of let you do your own thing?
Oh, yeah, they were. My mother, in particular, was a huge influence on me. She was very adventurous. She died when I was rather young, but growing up, she would tell me all about the Yeti, and in fact, she took a trip to the Himalayas. I didn't go with her on that one, but she was interested in that. She used to sit me on her knee and tell me about the Mothman of West Virginia. She loved to tell me about that, so she definitely stoked my interest in all those types of things. My father's a scientist. He's a PhD in some type of advanced math and forestry, and so he was, very influential in terms of telling me about, science and scientific process and, understanding that side of it. So, and of course, he was a great outdoorsman. Loved to go fishing and camping and stuff. So, yeah, it was, I owe a lot to my family. They were very supportive.
At what point in your life did you realize that you wanted to be more than just reading about it? When did you actually start looking into these things?
Well, like I said, when I was 15, I was in Loch Ness, and I was hiking around the lake with a little 8mm movie camera, and I was talking to the locals and trying to interview people who'd seen Nessie. So that was my first attempt, but I never really planned on making cryptozoology a career, certainly. I tried to do other things with my life until about maybe 20 years ago. I became interested again. I began doing some field work with different people in Texas, tagging along with other researchers, and it just kind of got me back into it. I've been doing it pretty actively since then, over the past couple of decades.
In your latest book, A Menagerie of Mysterious Beasts, you tell about seeing the Minnesota Iceman. Could you tell our folks about that?
Yeah, that was another epiphany. When I was around that same age, right after I first heard about Bigfoot, I was at the Minnesota State Fair in 1976, I believe, and I happened to walk up on the Minnesota Iceman exhibit. And, immediately there was a connection to Bigfoot in my mind because I think they actually had Bigfoot and Sasquatch and Yeti kind of plastered on the side of the trailer, but they were also acknowledging, well, we don't know what it is, but it's not human, and it's in here if you want to see it, and that was pretty exciting for a young boy to see. Oh my gosh, they might have a dead Bigfoot in this big semi-trailer. So I went up and in, and it was real cold. I remember there was in the middle of this trailer, it was kind of cramped, there was this glass sarcophagus or coffin, and I was small, but I was able to tippy-toe up, and someone may have even helped me look here over the edge. So then supposedly inside this block of ice, frozen in this glass sarcophagus, there's this frozen, hairy, man-like thing, and the ice was thick and opaque, so you couldn't see it real well, but it looked like it had this kind of death grimace on its face, like it was in agony, and I didn't know if it was real or not, but it was pretty creepy and scary when that happened. So yeah, that was another thing. Now, going back, and if you know the history of the Minnesota Iceman saga, and I write about it in my last book, as you mentioned, the one that I saw back in 1976 probably was fake. It was supposedly a latex model that was made at some point, for sure, and it was probably touring in the 70s. But the whole mystery revolves around the fact that prior to 1968, that the Minnesota Iceman exhibit may have in fact been featuring some type of flesh and blood specimen, an actual body of some type of unknown creature. a controversy revolving the owner or the exhibitor, and I think he was also worried about legal issues. So that's at least one commonly held theory, is that he went out and had a latex duplicate made, manufactured in Hollywood of this thing, and then he took the original flesh and blood thing that had been examined by some scientists and made it disappear. It's a great mystery. You know, a lot of people are still convinced that the whole thing is a hoax, that there never was a flesh and blood, and it always was a latex model, which is possible. But there were scientists and some academics that saw this thing and were convinced that it was real. So, yeah, and the Minnesota Iceman is now actually in Austin, Texas. That's where it's housed at the Museum of the Weird on 6th Street.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, anyone in Texas, if you're passing through Austin, and particularly on 6th Street, go check out Museum of the Weird, and you can actually go in and see the Minnesota Iceman exhibit now. So.
And that's your connection to Shipping Wars.
Yeah. That TV show, they were transporting the Iceman down to his current home in Texas, and that's kind of what the episode of that show was about.
Yeah, that's the only episode that I haven't seen that you were in. Correction, the only TV show, I should say.
Well, I'm not in it much.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I don't have a lot of dialogue. I'm mostly in the background. Lyle Blackburn featured a little bit more. He's kind of orchestrated the whole thing, the Bigfoot hunt thing, and there were a couple other guys there too. So it's, it was fun, but it was a little different. It was a bit of a departure from what I typically do on TV show, or what I like to do on TV shows. It was kind of, but it was fun. We got to go down to to Fouke, Arkansas, where we filmed it, and got to visit the famous Boggy Creek, Legend of Boggy Creek, and it is a pretty creepy, spooky area at night. And we were down there, kind of walking the creek, and so that was fun. It was a good time.
In your book, you also talk about werewolves. Have you looked into any of the Dogman sightings throughout the U.S.?
Not as many as I would have liked to. Seems like most of those, they are starting to pop up everywhere. These modern werewolf, a.k.a. Dogman reports, are popping up everywhere all over the world in North America, but it seems like they're more concentrated in the Midwest, places like Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, Pennsylvania. Those are kind of some of the hot spots. There are some throughout the South, I guess, and other parts. But it's a little bit, the sightings are a little fleeting in terms of, at least people that I've been contacted by, that want to maybe sit down and talk. I think there's a lot of ambiguity in terms of people posting reports and sightings on websites. And, on the one hand, maybe that's a good thing because it helps people maybe to share their experiences if they've had one without fear of ridicule. But on the other hand, people are also more apt to exaggerate and prone to potentially make up stories, so it's harder to verify the information. Linda Godfrey, of course, is the world's leading investigator of Dogman/werewolf reports. She's up in Wisconsin, and then occasionally she'll pass along a sighting to me that's something that happened in Texas or whatever. So, but it's a pretty freaky, weird phenomenon, and I don't really truly believe that it belongs within the field of cryptozoology, maybe so much as the paranormal field or avenues of Fortean research.
A lot of people, as myself, really liked the episode of The Beast of Javadon. Could you tell us a bit about that adventure?
Yeah, that was a great adventure. I appeared in a 2-hour TV special for the History Channel back in 2010. It was called The Real Wolfman. And they actually, I had an opportunity to travel over to France and team up with this homicide detective from New York City, and we were looking into a very old mystery, that of something called the Beast of reported or documented that this creature, whatever it was, killed at least 60 and maybe over 100 people, attacked many more than that.
Did you?
1764 through 1767, 3-year period, this creature was on this killing rampage. And so for this TV special, we basically went to the area, we met with experts, we saw some of the original documents and archives, we went to some of the locations where people had been attacked and killed by this beast. And then, basically just tried to put kind of a modern investigative spin on the whole thing. I don't think we really came up with too much in terms of revelation. We didn't talk about the theories that were out there, but it's certainly hard to solve a 250-year-old murder case.
Yes.
Not a lot of real good evidence there, real solid evidence.
No witnesses to interview.
It definitely involved a mysterious animal. Now, this animal was allegedly shot in 1767 by a man named Jean Chastel, a hunter, and the body was then eventually taken to Paris, where it was shown to King Louis XV, and he immediately declared, get that thing out of here, it stinks. And so there's a little bit of a mystery as far as like what, where the remains of this animal are, and if a definitive identity could be attached to the animal. So it may have been a large rogue wolf. It may have been a dog-wolf hybrid, wolfhound. It could have been something more romantic, probably unlikely, but maybe something, ancient cave hyena or an ancient carnivore from the Paleocene epoch, that survived into modern times. There's all these fabulous theories, but it's a really amazing story, and it was certainly a lot of fun filming that particular episode.
Up until that time, the prescribed method for killing a werewolf was you hit it with whatever you had. An arrow, a bullet. It didn't have to be silver. After the Beast of Gévaudan, suddenly you had to have a silver bullet blessed by a priest in order to kill a werewolf.
Well, that's the story. That Jean Chastel was the first one to think to have silver melted down into bullets and then blessed by a priest. And that, for whatever reason, well, of course, many of your listeners, I'm sure, who are probably more in tune with the subject than I am, realize that silver historically has had many alleged properties when it comes to different aspects of spiritualism and the supernatural and things like that, holiness, whatever. So now we got the silver bullet is a big part of modern Hollywood werewolf lore. You often see the silver bullet motif popping up in different movies, but we actually had some silver bullets made for the TV show and did a ballistics test at the end, which was kind of interesting. Not really that accurate, but kind of interesting. It was cool being able to handle a real silver bullet, in my hand. I wish I could have smuggled one off, just in case. Ever needed it, but no, we used them all, I think.
Well, while y'all were in France, did you get to look into any other mysterious reports?
No, not really. After the fact, when I got back, I kind of looked into stories of, European Bigfoot sightings, which are very, very rare, as you can imagine. But believe it or not, there have been some reports, accounts from some of the forested areas of Germany, England, Holland, and Italy, and France, and elsewhere, Spain. So, I thought that's a pretty crazy, Europe, of course, has been civilized for centuries. It would be hard to imagine that there could be something like a Bigfoot there. And I heard about some of those kind of on the French-Spanish border when I was over there. But no, other than that, no, I didn't really hear about any other mysteries.
Have you ever been out in the middle of nowhere when you found something that you wished you hadn't run across?
something I wish I hadn't run.
Yes, people, things, something that just made you question your sanity in being there.
I didn't actually, fortunately, I didn't actually run across it, but back in 2006, I was very close. I had a rental car, and I was very close to driving across the border from Belize to Guatemala.
Mm.
And it was just me and my young, very attractive young wife, and I was warned by some people as we were getting close to the border that there were bandits roaming the area in Guatemala, and that they would sabotage people and,
yes.
chop trees down and block the road and do all kinds of horrible things to people. So, not wanting to jeopardize my wife's safety and certainly my own, I kind of, at the last minute, decided not to drive across the border into Guatemala, stayed in Belize.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty unnerving as I was getting closer and just couldn't decide. I was hoping to investigate. Guatemala has a Bigfoot-like creature known as the Sisamito. It's also been reported in Belize. But there have been some stories from mountainous parts of Guatemala that I wanted to look into, but I didn't think it was worth risking running into those hombres out there in the middle of nowhere. So
yeah, you've got to at some point say this isn't worth it.
Well, yeah, we all like to imagine that we'd have that Indiana Jones, but you at some level we all have kind of an instinct or fear, which is a good thing. It protects us from getting into really horrible situations sometimes.
Your TV series Missing in Alaska. Do you, Jax, and Tommy still stay in touch?
Oh yeah. More so me and Jax, I think. We text a lot. We talk on the phone and stuff. He's pursuing some cool things. He's always on an adventure and wanting to talk about things. Tommy is obviously a little farther away, and he also is very, from what I can see on his social media posts and occasional text and photos that he sends me, very, very much into his art. He's a master carver, totems and canoes and tribal masks and all kinds of amazing things that are, maintain the heritage and the culture of his the Klingon people, his tribe. So, yeah, we all stay in touch, but it's not like the show. We're hanging out all day. Unfortunately, it's kind of all taken different paths at this point.
In the show, the episode number 4, Zombies of Harp, did y'all receive any unwanted attention while filming outside the Harp facility?
Surprisingly, no. And that was kind of one of the weird things, because up until, you're right there at the edge of the Harp facility, and of course it's a pretty secure place, pretty high walls and things, but then there's that sign that it belongs to the, Scientific Naval Intelligence Research Center, and it's pretty official, stay off this property, and we flew a drone right there at the side of the wall. So I don't think, we actually didn't get the drone, we didn't invade the
airspace
property, but we got high enough to where we could try to look in, and surprisingly, nobody came out and confronted us. So, I don't know if that says that, there were, of course, a lot of people saying that the facility had been abandoned at that point and was going through a transition or something. So there were lights on inside, but you couldn't really see any activity. It was the dead of winter, very cold. So, I was fearful that we were going to get in some trouble there, but we didn't.
It was kind of odd that you got sick just about the exact same time that Jax lost control of the drone.
Well, of course, at the time I wasn't feeling well, so I wasn't paying real good attention. But
you were doubled over, pretty much unable to stand, and he was trying to get the drone to land, and it was not obeying his commands.
Yeah, I will say that I started feeling bad when we met with Dr. Nick Begich, who's the real heart conspiracy author and authority on the whole thing. And when he did the experiment where he was passing the music through my to my brain without going through my ears, it was strange. It kind of disoriented me, and that was like a day or so earlier. And from that point on, I just felt really kind of strained. Maybe it was, it might have been psychological or subconscious or something. Certainly I don't think ever underestimate the power of the unconscious mind to plant suggestions and for sometimes people to,
Well, also there's the possibility that some electronics have profound effects on people.
Yeah, that's true. So, but that was interesting. Yeah, and of course, I went and saw that therapist, and that was kind of cool. He did the frequencies through the electrodes into my body, and that was very relaxing. And actually, I think it purged a lot of the anxiety I had been feeling and stuff. So it was a weird time, but maybe some of it, like I said, just the subject matter and. That's not typically what I do, as you know, Chris, as a cryptozoologist. I'm not really involved in a lot of conspiracies and UFO type stuff. Nick is, of course, Nick Redfern.
Yes.
His piece. So I realized that for the purpose of the series, they needed me to know a little of that stuff. They didn't want to have to bring in different people.
Jax interviews a guy who had on a tinfoil hat. And just to let y'all know, in case you ever encounter this again, a study was done in 2005 by MIT to see if wrapping your head in tinfoil would do anything to block signals. And they discovered that aluminum helmets actually amplify radio waves in the frequency currently used by the government. So next time you encounter somebody wearing a tinfoil hat, you might just tell them it's not going to work.
It has the opposite effect. Well, I have a confession to make there, too, which is that was really not our idea. The tinfoil hats. And there was almost a mutiny on set when that was suggested that we had to do that. That was one of the most awkward moments of the production. But ultimately, they convinced us that they probably weren't going to use that, or I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
that would never be my instinct to do that.
If it ever does come up again, you can tell them just point blank. Look, MIT did a study and they've discovered it doesn't work. So.
Yeah. Gosh, I hope I'm never in that situation again.
Yes.
That's good to know, Chris. Thank you.
Have y'all ever considered writing a book? Not necessarily about the show itself, but perhaps some of the other things that you saw while you all were there in Alaska.
Yeah, I think we may have talked about that at some point. Maybe if the series had been, I mean, I think we all appreciate anybody that has watched the show and supported it. But, it only got one season, which unfortunately is not really a success in the TV world. So I don't know if there would be enough interest. Maybe. I mean, the show is being syndicated worldwide. I do hear from people in the Philippines, and Eastern Europe, and South America, different places that catch the show. But yeah, it was. There was certainly a lot that went on behind the scenes that that I think people would find interesting and make it onto the show.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe someday when you find a moment in your life when you're not so darn busy, which I don't think has been in the last couple of years, but something to keep in mind.
Yeah. Good thought.
You can still catch some of the episodes of Missing in Alaska, but for some odd reason, the speech is a bit off. It sounds like everybody's breathing helium for some reason.
Oh, I know why that is, Chris.
What's that?
Because I inquired about that too.
Mm.
And I've seen that on other YouTube videos. The people that post those videos, who probably do it in faraway lands because they don't own the copyright information. Those versions are basically bootlegs. And one of the things that bootleggers do when they post videos on YouTube, evidently, is they alter the speed or pitch of the audio, because scanning audio is one of the ways that the copyright police look for videos being posted. By altering the pitch, it's harder for them to hone in on the, profile, the audio profile of that episode. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, and I had no idea I was helping support a bootleg video.
It's okay. I'm just glad some people have access to see them. It was very, honestly, I'm disappointed that the History Channel did not put out some DVDs or, have more links. I mean, there might be, I think some of the episodes can be streamed, but I don't know if all of them are up there. So I wish it was more accessible, because, there was a lot of work and effort and put into some of those episodes, and some of them turned out pretty good.
You can still get them through Amazon for a fee, but that's one of the, I'm not too sure of all of them, but I did notice there were quite a few.
Okay, well, yeah, I think there's 13 episodes total. But, as long as people can catch them, I guess, for a fee. But I guess History Channel has to make their investment back.
Do y'all look into anything other than cryptids?
I've been interested in all aspects of the unexplained from about the time I started getting into cryptozoology when I was younger. I also began to read books about ghosts and the Bermuda Triangle and UFOs and all that stuff. Amelia Earhart, any great mystery interests me. I don't think, as I've gotten older, I no longer think that I can be good at too many things. I don't think it's possible, so I'd rather prefer to just be good at maybe a couple of things, and interested in other things. I've tagged along on ghost hunts. I've been in the periphery of some UFO investigations in terms of helping as a consultant and things like that. But I don't really do any of that other stuff. I mean, again, for the TV series, Missing in Alaska, we did UFO episodes and a ghost episode and stuff.
They wanted to cover all the bases.
Sorry?
They just wanted to cover all the bases, just in case.
Yeah, they wanted, Alaska, they had some cool stories. Now, here's a good trivia fact that people that watch the show probably don't realize. There were some episodes that were scripted but then dropped at the last minute or switched for other episodes. So one of the episodes, for example, they were going to do one on satanic cults in Alaska.
Right.
Apparently, there's a really big deal up there, and there are a lot of Satanists, and they recruit and brainwash people and indoctrinate them into these different cults, particularly in these little towns, which are very isolated. I had no idea, but, I read all this information when we were looking at the show. So they were going to do this, people are disappearing because they're being indoctrinated into these satanic cults. But I guess at the last minute, somebody decided, either the History Channel or the production company, that that particular subject was a little bit too touchy, that it might offend some people, or I don't know. They were just worried about it coming off in the wrong way, so they ultimately dropped that one.
That was my means of getting to talk to Art Bell, was a situation I'd had where I ran into a group of Satanists, but that was a bit surprising. That was the first year on the job and out patrolling the river, and drive down to the riverbank, and here's 15 to 20 people standing in a circle with their hands up in the air around a big bonfire. And the first thing went through my mind was that old movie, Race with the Devil.
Yeah,
and as you remember, it did not have a happy ending.
No, it didn't.
So, it was an eye-opener.
You ever want to run into a circle of 20 people doing a satanic ritual in the woods?
Yes.
I can't think of a good way that would end.
That was, well, like I said, it did get me on the radio talking to Art Bell, so that was a plus.
Oh, that is a plus. Art is such an icon.
Mm-hmm.
It's great that he still does some things here and there.
There are going to be a few folks out there who haven't read your book, Big Bird. Could you give them a quick review?
Yes. Okay, so Big Bird is a big deal if you're down in the valley in particular, because it's kind of probably one of the biggest mysteries to come out of that area. The name Big Bird is a media invention, so don't get too hung up on the name. It is a little bit of a spin-off on Sesame Street, but that's not the point. On January 1st, 1976, two young girls in Harlingen, Texas, Tracy Lawson and Jackie Davis, were playing out in the yard, and they saw this giant bird that stood about 5 feet tall. It was big and black and scary, kind of like a big vulture leering at them. They went inside, tried to wake up their parents. Their parents, I guess, were crashed out from partying too much the night before, but ultimately went out there and saw these big footprints, these three-toed tracks, and that made the local TV channel. They sent out a news crew for that. Then about a week later, a guy named Alberto Guajardo was down in Brownsville, was in his trailer home with his family, and something slammed into the side of his trailer home one night. He went out and turned on some lights and saw this giant winged animal that he called a not of this earth, a bird but not a bird, huge bird-like creature, and it disappeared into the darkness. And then a week after that, a guy up in Raymondville named Armando Grimaldo was sitting out on his patio, and this thing swooped down and attacked him and tore his clothes, and he had to be rushed to the Wilson County Hospital in shock. Those are the three notable sightings, but there were, around that time period of January and February 1976, there were dozens of sightings that made the local newspapers in the valley, and then ultimately went worldwide, stories of a giant winged creature called the Big Bird. And people described it as standing about 5 to 6 feet tall, man-sized with giant wings, dark-colored. Some people said it looked more bat-like. Other people said it was feathered. So some people said it was kind of like a pterodactyl type thing. So we don't know exactly what it was, but it was sighted quite a bit in the valley. And I went down there and basically wrote a book based on investigations I did in that area down in 2000, well, the early 2000s. I was going down to the valley and collecting information, and I interviewed people that were still claiming to see this big bird creature. So that's what my first book is about. It's about the Big Bird, which is there are still sightings throughout South Texas and Central Texas, up here in San Antonio where I live, of a giant bird, either giant birds or giant winged cryptids, and of various descriptions. They all may be responsible for the Big Bird legend, whatever they are. But that's basically it. And the Big Bird in Texas is probably an extension of a North American phenomenon, because there are sightings of quote-unquote thunderbirds, that's a Native American name, all over North America, especially up in Illinois, Pennsylvania, and Alaska. Those other three states, along with Texas, for some reason, produce the most sightings, but they have been sighted everywhere. So that's what Big Bird is about. It's a flying cryptid, possibly something prehistoric, we don't know, but much, much larger than any known winged animal.
Now, how about the book Flying Humanoids?
Flying Humanoids kind of is probably the closest that I've come to investigating other things that you were asking me about a little while ago. Flying Humanoid, Encounters with Flying Humanoids is about, of course, the Mothman of West Virginia, a very famous weird winged creature. But also sightings of things like Mothman all over the world, dating back centuries. So it's basically a global has to be, and there are all these other weird aspects to the flying humanoid phenomenon. There are UFOs that are sighted in conjunction with these things. There are people getting violently ill after they've had experiences and sightings. There are visitations by mysterious men in black who come and threaten people whether they've had sightings, telling them not to talk about it. There are curses. It's just a multi-layered, multifaceted phenomenon. And I really don't have a solid answer in terms of what people are seeing, but all I can say is that I've interviewed many people who've had encounters with these things, whatever they are, and I'm convinced that that it's a real phenomenon. People are encountering winged creatures that have human-like characteristics. They may be, they're more than likely something spectral or supernatural. Again, I don't think they are mutations or anything like that. It's pretty scary stuff, though, because there are so many elements and layers of different things that should make us uncomfortable.
Well, for some odd reason, Monterrey, Mexico, just seems to be a hotbed for things like that. They have flying humanoids, they have UFO reports, they have bizarre creatures all around. You've been to the area, you've seen what it looks like. It's pretty mysterious looking as you're driving up there.
Yeah, it is. There's an ancient presence there, because when we were out in La Pasteca, which is south of Monterrey in those mountains, there are pictographs, paintings on some of the rocks that are thousands and thousands of years old. Nobody really knows. And they're, some of them look suspiciously like UFOs and different other things. So it's a very ancient area, and definitely an area, as you said, a lot of UFO activity, a lot of sightings of strange creatures. There was, of course, the sighting of the encounter of a police officer that he had with a flying, what he called a witch, flying through the air back in 2004, and that was, of course, that made big news, and I had the opportunity to interview that gentleman as well. So that's the pinnacle of weirdness.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, your last book, The Monsters of Texas, that you and Nick Redfern wrote. How about a little something about that?
Monsters of Texas was a book that I co-authored with Nick Redfern, of course. Nick is a best-selling author, not only in the field of cryptozoology, but UFOs and conspiracies, and he writes about all kinds of unexplained phenomenon. But Nick and I have been good friends for many years now. He lives up in Arlington, and of course I'm in San Antonio. And it just it occurred to us back in 2000 and maybe 2008 that hey, maybe we should collaborate and write a book about the monsters of Texas, which would involve and include all of the cryptid sightings. You have things like Bigfoot sightings, quite a few Bigfoot sightings in Texas, particularly East Texas. You have, of course, the legendary chupacabra, which is a strange vampire-like creature that's been reported to have attacked livestock throughout Texas. We have the Big Bird. We have the Lake Worth monster. There are werewolf sightings and lake monsters and black panthers, all kinds of, enough befitting the great size and stature of Texas and the great culture that we have.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of stories and legends of weird creatures, and that's kind of what Monsters of Texas is about.
What would be the best way to get a copy of one or all of your books?
Well, they're all available online through Amazon and Barnes & Noble and other online book sellers. I occasionally have copies of my books on hand, and I'm happy to sell autographed copies directly to people if they want to contact me via Facebook, for example. I'm more than happy to autograph or personalize a book if I've got a copy on hand and to send them directly. But, if not, Barnes & Noble locations will sometimes have them online for sure. And every once in a while, I find one popping up at a half-price books, too, which is rare, but it does happen these days.
Yeah, people get a hold of your books. They don't want to let go of them. What kind of advice would you give to anybody wishing to follow in your footsteps?
I would give the same advice that I was given by Lauren Coleman, who is one of the world's leading cryptozoologists, and a real inspiration to my generation of researchers. This is the same information that apparently Bernard Heuvelmans, the father of cryptozoology, first wrote back in the 1950s or around that time. 2 words: passion and patience. Absolutely, you have to be passionate about the topic. There are a lot of, I found myself doing a lot of things throughout the years that are pretty gross. Transporting animal carcasses and lots of collection of scat and things like that. So it's not always as glamorous as people think.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to certainly be passionate about anything to be good in any field. I think you have to have a passion, a love for it. But also patience, because these are enduring mysteries that date back, in many cases, decades or centuries. There are generations of researchers that have died never having solved the mystery and basically passing the mantle on to newer generations, because these are generational mysteries. So hopefully some of them will be solved someday, but sometimes you do have to be patient in terms of, just waiting for things to develop and unfold and just following the evidence.
How about books you'd recommend they read?
I would say, there are the classics. I mentioned Bernard Heuvelmans. He wrote a book called On the Track of Unknown Animals, which is kind of the Bible of cryptozoology. Ivan Terence Sanderson, who was a zoologist and Fortean researcher, wrote a number of good books that were very influential. John Green, if you're into Bigfoot, he's written most of the sort of the highly revered books. My colleague Lyle Blackburn and also Nick Redfern both write excellent books. They're both very prolific.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Carl Schuker in England has written a number of excellent, but he's very scientific and just a brilliant man, and really brings a lot of science into the field of cryptozoology. And Lauren Coleman, who I mentioned earlier, has written a lot of good books. There's so many,
Mm-hmm.
Once you start getting, if you're interested in the subject, once you start getting into it, you find, there are certain authors and researchers who, written some excellent books, and typically it's not a secret at that point.
You'll be speaking at Huntsville at the Southeast Texas Bigfoot Conference. How about a brief preview?
I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to be talking about. I think I was going to be talking about the proto-pygmies, which are commonly referred to as Littlefoot, as opposed to Bigfoot. There seem to be accounts of pygmy-sized mystery hominids, much, much smaller than Bigfoot, even smaller than a man, but covered in hair and man-like in every other nature, just very small and tiny. There are accounts of these beings all over the world. They're often referred to as proto-pygmies. They don't seem to be human. They seem to be subhuman in nature. And then you also have the corroborating legends all over the world of quote-unquote little people. Fairies, elves, gnomes, trolls, things like that could very well correspond to these modern sightings of these mystery hominid, pygmy-sized hominids. So I may talk about those guys, the little ones, and also the possibility that there's, that there are more than one type of Bigfoot out there. For decades, various researchers have been speculating about, how many different types there could be around the world, because you definitely have vastly different descriptions, physical descriptions, other than the classic Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or Yeti. You have other types that people have described, and frequently in some cases. So I may be talking about that and, trying
That will be April 21st, 2018 at the Walker County Fairgrounds in Huntsville, Texas. Any other locations you'll be speaking at in the next couple of months?
Oh, well, thanks for the plug, Chris. I will be speaking at a MagicCon in Minot, North Dakota near the end of April. I don't know if I have any fans up in the North Dakota area, but that'll be my first appearance up there. I'll be speaking at the Ohio Bigfoot Conference, really one of the longest-running Bigfoot conferences over 20-some years. I'll be speaking there first weekend in May, and that's in Salt Fork State Park in eastern Ohio. And then, of course, I'll be speaking at the long-standing Texas Bigfoot Conference in October, Texas, in Jefferson, Texas. I'll be speaking at the Mothman Festival this year up in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. That's in September. And also the International Bigfoot Conference up in Kennewick, Washington, Labor Day weekend.
That's why I can never get a hold of you. You're always running around and speaking at all these conferences. Do you have any Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm just happy to see that there are so many events now where people will get together and share their interest in these subjects. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any upcoming adventures or projects that you're working on that you're free to disclose?
Chris, I do have a project that I've been working on for the last several months. Unfortunately, it's not far enough along for me to disclose much about it, other than to say it's super cool. And any fans of my research, whether it be my TV shows or my books or anything else, I think are going to be very, very happy and pleased, to check it out. But it's probably going to be a couple more months or a few more months before I can say more than that, because we want to make sure we have all of our ducks in a row before we launch the whole thing. So, but it's cool and it's coming.
Your website is www.kengerhard.com. Is that the best way to contact you?
Actually, I don't know if I get my messages through that website. It seems like that there's been a problem with that lately. So I'd say the best way to reach me is my Facebook fan page, or people can email me if they want at kgerhard13@hotmail.com.
Anything you'd like to add before I let you get back to your dinner?
I just want to thank you, Chris, for being patient with me, and great questions. Really enjoyed talking to you this evening, and I look forward to seeing you again at some of these events. Maybe you'll be at Huntsville, right?
Yes, I already got our tickets.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, that should be a great event. Looking forward to seeing you there.
This has been Ken Gerhard on Strange Things with Chris James. Did you hear a bump in the night and you think it just might be a ghost? Contact the Laredo Paranormal Research Society at laredoparanormal@hotmail.com. That's the LPRS for all your otherworldly needs. Back in 1776, someone said, "Give me coffee or give me death." And if that's how you feel, you should be at the Organic Man Coffee Truck. They make coffee the right way, one delicious cup at a time. 4501 McPherson, Suite number 9. Coffee, the stuff dreams are made of.
Are you coming to the tree where they strung up a man, the same murder 3? Strange things that happen here, how stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree?